How are we, guys? It's Sunday. Hope you've had a good week. Hope you've had a good weekend. I'm in my scruffs again because I've been flipping working. I was going to go in on Saturday and do a little bit, and then we ended up just writing Saturday off, and I had to catch up today anyway. But it is what it is. So anyway, before I get started, before we get into the video, I just wanted to quickly just thank all you guys for watching, for the likes. I mean, the comments. I don't get a chance to reply to every single comment. I try my best to, but I get a bit overwhelmed with it sometimes because I'm working all day, you know, non-stop. And then I get home and I try and make these videos, and, you know, I'm in here, like, most of the evening. And if I sort of spent all the time replying to comments, then, you know, probably end up divorced. So, but I just want you to know, I do read them. Normally before I'm going to bed, I'm just like lying in bed, you know, just reading through the comments, and it's lovely. So anyway, I won't waffle on. Thank you very much for all the nice things that you say to me. I do appreciate it. I love you all watching me, and all the subscribers as well. 5,500 subscribers in like 3 months. I mean, I don't know if that's good or not, but it seems like it's quite good to me. So anyway, it's lovely having you here with me. I appreciate it. Right then, should we just get stuck into the questions? So, the first question is by Tony C. Bit of a depressing question. Do you think it can be a lonely road if you're a self-employed plasterer? Although you have an apprentice, a lot of people work alone. Good question, Tony. So I'll tell you, the way I've got it now, I think is absolutely perfect for how I like it. In the past, obviously, you know, my old fella taught me, and we worked in a little gang under my old fella's direction. That was okay. It was me, my dad and my brother. So that got a bit intense sometimes. So after that, I went off by myself. I was 18. 18 when I sort of went off on doing site work on my own. And then I had my own lads working for me then. My own sort of gang working for me. No, working with me. Don't ever tell them they work for you. They flipping hate it. We worked together. We were a team. And that was quite good. But what can happen is, when you're sort of stuck with the same people day in, day out, you start to grate on each other. So you'll see gangs and they'll work for, I don't know, 6 years, 5 or 6 years, and then it all falls apart, you know, because you just get on each other's nerves a little bit too much. I think the way I've got it now is perfect. I've worked with, I've had gangs, I've been on my own, I have worked on my own for a couple of years, on and off as well, and then I've worked alongside other plasterers where we just split everything down the middle. And I would say the way I've got it now is I love it. It's absolutely perfect for me. I've got me and the young apprentice Kieran. Now, I'm sure I get on his nerves, and he definitely gets on my nerves from time to time. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? But I do end up on my own once a month, completely by myself. What I did with Kieran is, I said to him when he first started, a little bit of a life advice for him. I said, Kieran, the only thing that I wish I had done when I was younger was travelled and seen the world. I sort of settled down quite young, you know. I was married when I was 23, you know, kids, the lot, like. I said, and to be fair, what I wish I'd done is gone and seen, you know, the world's a big place. I would have loved to have gone on loads of holidays when I was younger, you know, travelling by myself sort of thing. And anyway, Kieran goes once a month now. He goes travelling every month. He just goes off. He just books his flights dead cheap, and he goes long weekends. Sometimes he'll phone me and say he's staying. He's met, you know, a couple of lads or whatever he's up to, you know, he's met a chick and he's staying with her till her holidays ended or whatever, and he, you know, he's gone from Poland, done road trips to Germany, or he's been all over Europe. In fact, I mean, I don't know if you can see all I've got. Let me just show you around here. See all these things, all these little signs everywhere. He goes all over Europe. You see all these little metal. Where are they? There's flipping loads of them. See them on the ceiling. Every country he goes to, he gets me one of them. A little souvenir for me. Probably to make me feel bad because I haven't been able to go all these places. Where was I going with that? Yeah, he goes off travelling. I said to him, listen, go and see the world, mate. You'll always have a job. I don't care if you stay for 6 months and you end up in Australia. Doesn't matter. when you're bored and you've had enough, come home and you're back in with me, like, not a problem. So it's my little thing to try and, you know, give him the best sort of go at life. Well, anyway, when he goes, I'm on my Todd, aren't I? And I like it. I like, you know, a couple of days, maybe a week, just by myself, you know, gets you motivated, because you've got to do everything by yourself, haven't you? You've got to, you know, sheet up, pack up, you've got to do everything, which is a bit hard graft, but from time to time I need it, because I can get a bit lazy, you know, have him doing everything, so it is quite good for me. And as well as doing that, another thing I like to do is, I have other plasterers, my best mate's a plasterer, and we'll team up. You know, we'll do certain jobs together, K-Rens, you know, big jobs. Sometimes I'll jump in with them, or he'll jump in with me. Not just you know, actually there's about, must have about 5 or 6 different mates that are plasterers, and we'll all, you sort of, you know, help each other out as and when we need each other. So I think that is perfect. So don't pigeonhole yourself. If you work on your own and you're on a big job, just phone another plasterer and ask him to drop in with you and help you in a week's time, and then they'll do it with you. So it just sort of, like, you know, changes it up a little bit. You don't get as bored then, do you? I know what you're saying though, being by yourself. I think if I was on my own permanently, it'd get to me a little bit. Although I do like my own company. I'm an outgoing guy. I'm one of these, if I go out, I'm like the life and soul of the party, you know. I can be a bit of the class clown, you know, and have loads of banter, loads of laugh, you know, flipping, have a great night. But then I can spend the whole next day quite, you know, look at me now, I'm in here. I'm in a little box on my own, talking to my phone. So, there you go. I like my own company as well, so I don't know. It is what it is, I suppose. Right, let's go on to the next question. Andy, do you charge a set amount a day, or do you price up depending on how hard the job is? Like rendering might be a little harder due to the weight of the product and working outside when cold, etc. Andy, to answer your question as precisely as possible, I would say I never work on day work, or try not to. I have got one mate who's a builder, and he sort of has me as, you know, he's got like a day work price that I end up having to work for him for. But it's only because he's my mate, and it's only because I like him so much that I do it. Because what happens is, he doesn't do this to me. It's the only reason I do it for him. They watch what time you turn up. They watch what time you're going home. How long you've had for your dinner. I mean, if you're sending a text message to a customer and they're looking at you to say, I'm paying you for the day, you know, I can't be doing none of that nonsense. So I don't really work on day work for anyone apart from that one lad, only because he's absolutely spot on. So he knows that, he understands that I know what I need to get done in a day, and I make sure it's done for him, so he knows the score. But no, I don't like day work. What I tend to do is, I know how much I need to earn a day, and that's like the bare minimum I can work for, and then I add the materials on, and then that's like me lowest price, and I charge, you know, more than that. But then if there's any sort of negotiation, you know, or you're competing against somebody else, I mean, it all depends. Sometimes you just say, no, that's the price and that's it. If you don't like it, walk away. But, you know, sometimes if I really want the job, or, you know, it's going to be a nice job and they sort of want to chip you down a little bit, well, you know what the minimum price is, because you've already worked that out. I've actually done a full video on pricing jobs. I think it's called Charge Double, Win Every Single Job. Just have a look at my videos. That'll take you through the whole thing of how I price jobs up. The next question is by Stephen Noon. Kirk, do you ever use pure finish plaster? If not, why? What's the difference between that and multi-finish? If so, yeah, from my understanding, I've read a bit about it on British Gypsum's website, and what they basically say is that it improves the air quality, takes dangerous things out the air, and releases, you know, better oxygen, or what, I don't know, I can't remember what they said. But anyway, from my understanding of plastering, mate, what they've basically done is, they're not going to tell you this, because it's a, you know, a bit of a sales ploy, so they can't really just reveal what they've done. But from my understanding of plastering, they've just put lime in the stuff. So I mean, if you ever do any research on the internet, read a little bit about lime plastering and how that improves the air quality. And what you'll find is, if you read that and put it side by side with what British Gypsum are saying that their product does, this pure finish, it'll be pretty much identical what the benefits of it are. So, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out. They've just put lime in the plaster, which is what they used to do. Before 1950s, we stopped using lime plaster in this country, or went to, like, you know, British Gypsum making their sort of bagged plaster, the thistle pink plaster. Before that, it was all basically lime, and they'd add a bit of gypsum to it to speed it up. It was called gauged setting stuff. You'd have you could just use lime, and it'd take you, you know, a couple of days because it dries with the air. But then they started putting gypsum in it, and then that was called a gauged set because it would set faster because the gypsum would set it off. That's probably where you term, you know, I'm doing a gauge later. You can get 2 gauges a day, whereas if you just did it with lime alone, you wouldn't be able to. Anyway, I'm digressing into something else, but I'm sure it's just a lime-based plaster, mate, you know. But no, I haven't used it because I've never seen it sold anywhere. If I could get my hands on it, I would probably have a little dabble with it, but as of yet, I haven't. Right, the next question is Tall Pete. Interesting name, Pete. How tall actually are you? What are your experiences of the finishes with 1. 2 coating with 1 mix, 2 using dirty water, and 3 freezing cold water? And do you pour a kettle full in there? Cheers. You've actually squeezed quite a few questions in there, Tall Pete. You big rascal. Right, so first off, 2nd coating with the same mix. I do that quite a bit because it just gets all these things that you're talking about, Pete, are all things that make the plaster go off quite quick, or quicker than usual. I don't like throwing any plaster away. I don't like waste at the end of the job, stuff I've got to try and get rid of. So I always end up using anything I've sort of anything that's left in the bucket from the first mix. I'll usually knock it back up again so it makes it into dirty water for the 2nd mix, or mix 1 big bucket and 2nd coat with the same gear. Now, if you're a beginner, I don't recommend doing none of this. You're better off just using fresh stuff all the time and just using clean, cold water. But hot water sets the stuff off faster, dirty water sets the stuff off faster, and using the same mix for your 2nd coat sets it off quick as well. And I will usually use dirty water and 2nd coat of the same gear. I don't really like boiling a kettle and tipping that in the stuff. But all these things can be a little bit unpredictable, so I only do it if I know I'm on top of the stuff. Saying that, I like to use half time as well. So, and then the other one, using freezing cold water. We used to struggle with this on site. In my experience, it slows it down a little bit. But if the water's freezing cold, it's usually because it's freezing cold outside. I'm thinking about when we're getting water out the water butts outside. I've just got some memories coming back to me because we used to send my brother-in-law out. He's used to mix for us when we were on site, and his job was like, you know, he was sort of like the apprentice, but the lower down one. He didn't like being called a labourer because he did actually plaster, and he's a plasterer now. But at the time, he was like the 3rd in command in our team. Anyway, his job was in the morning to get all the waters in and what have you. And the big drums of water be outside. And here's the thing, they'd have ice on the top of them. But you can't smash the ice, because if you smash it, the little rocks go in your mix. So you've got to literally get your hands in the drum and get this slab of ice out, you know, without it breaking. So you turn up on site at like 6:30 in the morning, it's pitch black, it's freezing cold. I'm trying to get the Jenny started so we can have a little couple of bulbs on here and there in the house that we're working in, because we used to basically put the plaster on in the dark, and by the time you're troweling up, you know, the sun's come up so you can see what you're doing, and he'd be outside. He's already moaning because he's been in the back of the van on the way to work, because we only had a 2-seater van, so he's been in the back of the van freezing cold for half an hour, and then we've got to the job, he's straight out, it's absolutely Baltic. He's got to start picking ice out of buckets with his bare hands. So tell you what, oh, the lads today think they've got it hard. I mean, it's still like this on site, I'm imagining. I don't do site work anymore, but I take my hat off to lads on site that just do it day in, day out, because, I mean, I did it for a long time. I think everyone should do site work. Every plasterer, I think, should work on site at the beginning, just so they know what work is, because it's a flipping graft. I mean, do private work later on when you want to take it easier, you know, and be... Well, you're not your own boss. This is the other thing. People think you're your own boss when you do private work, because you're not working for a main contractor. But the fact of the matter is, I've got like, how many days a year are there? I've got 365 different bosses, you know. One day Mrs. Jones is my boss, next day flipping Peter's my boss. You know, you don't get away from it. But Yeah, cold water anyway. Sorry, we're off topic there. But Marcus, when it comes to how much pressure to use, is it very different for each stage? I've seen some plasterers say when laying on you don't use any, but others say lots of pressure when laying on. And for the wet trowel and polishing stage, are you basically pushing with all your might or just a little bit harder? Right, mate, when you're putting the plaster on the wall, you don't use too much pressure, because if you push too hard, because the stuff's wet, you'll literally just scrape it across the wall. So you can't use too much pressure when you're putting it on. If you flatten between coats, then you're not going to be using hardly any pressure, because it'll still be fairly, be soaking wet. Second coat, no, flattening in, not much pressure. As it goes on, it'll be more and more pressure. But don't get too hung up on this how much pressure. Don't worry about it. You can literally feel what you're doing. If you're applying too much pressure, you'll scrape the plaster off. If you're not applying enough pressure, then it'll just be a mess. You can't really get it wrong. It's like if you're driving your car and you want to start braking for some traffic lights, and you're asking me like, how hard should I brake? It's like, well, you can feel it, because if you're doing it too hard, you're going to go through the windscreen. You can just, it's like anything, mate. Holding a kid's hand, crossing a road, how hard you hold the hand. It's just, no one has to teach you this, mate. Honestly, once you're doing it, you just get the feel for it. So when you're traveling up towards your final stages, and you polish, if there's a little line in the wall and you go over it, very likely the line will still be there, because the plaster's nearly set. So you just have to press harder until the line's gone. I mean, if it hasn't gone, press a bit harder again. You will just feel it. I can't tell you how many newtons of pressure, but it'll progressively be more. But by the end of the gauge, I mean, I'm not pressing with all my might. I would say, how hard are you pressing? On my polish, I'm pushing. I don't even push hard. If I'm polishing walls, I just lean into it a little bit. It's sort of like my body weight pushes on it. That's hard to explain, mate. But genuinely, don't even worry about it. You'll get the feel for it when you're doing it. It'll be fine. Right, Stephen Price. Any stories about when you had a bit of a to-do with another spread on site? I've had a few jobs where me and the other spreads just cannot get on because they're a know-it-all. I'm a know-it-all and we just can't gel. Or any other trades for that matter. Sparky's obviously, lol. Why are you asking me this sort of stuff, Stephen? You're going to get me in trouble, mate. Right. I can only think of a couple, but I'm just going to tell you one because it'll take too long otherwise. So first, let me tell you, like, I am not an aggressive person. I'm not an angry person at all. I grew up with angry people, right? So I'm like the complete opposite. The only things that ever really get to me, that ever sort of like boil me piss, so to speak, is if someone hurts me family or friends, or if someone is really out to like upset me and offend me. I'm not one of them. You can't offend me accidentally. If something gets said by accident, I've got the thickest skin. I'll just laugh. I'm not easily offended at all. But if someone is really, trying to put it on me, then that triggers me. So I'll tell you this one time. We're doing this job in Buckinghamshire, which is just outside of Milton Keynes, and it's a big mansion. And I'm doing all the smooth sand and cement render and the sand and cement mouldings on the outside of the building. And I'm just about to get married, so I would have been at the time about 22. So we're doing this job, and I've took me and my brother-in-law, who was like my apprentice at the time. There was John, but he went on his own way, so it was just me and Sam. And we're down there doing this job, and we've done all the scratch coat, and we're starting to put the top coat on. Now, there's a site agent on the job. There's hardly anybody working on this job. It's just a one-off build, big massive mansion, and there's no one there whatsoever. And we're just doing the outside rendering, and there's the foreman, who's like a ground worker, and his brother, who's a machine driver, and it's literally the four of us on the job. I think a window company come and went the whole time we were there, and we were staying in digs down in this pub anyway. So we're doing the job, and they've got the chimney. Now there's scaffolding going up through the building itself, and around this chimney. So this site agent, Pat, he must have been about 38 or something at the time. He says, I want you to render that chimney, get it done. Now, it was absolutely red hot. So how it works when you render is you follow the sun. So if the sun's on the wall in the morning, you don't want to be top coating it when the sun's on it. You wait till the sun goes round and you follow the sun around the building, doing your rendering so that, you know, your render doesn't get dried out too fast. So he says to me, go up there and get that chimney done because we need this scaffolding down because it's holding, I need to get the roof on. It's holding the roofers up, so we need that done like today. And I said, Pat, can't do it because if I render all that chimney, the sun's going to bake one part of it, and it was red hot as well. I'm not even kidding you. It was like, it was going to, the stuff. Well, he made me do it anyway. He said, listen, just do it. Whatever it takes, just do it. We'll put some visqueen over it, and you can spray it and damp it down, but I need it done today. And I told him it wasn't going to work, but he was adamant. You know, I was only a young lad. Get that done. That's what I need you to do today. So it goes up anyway, renders this chimney right round. The sun's baking it, and it dried it out before it had a chance to set. So the stuff just goes dead dusty. I knew it was going to happen, but I did what he wanted. The roofers have come along and someone's picked up about this chimney and nothing's been said. And I'm doing other walls. The days have gone by. Anyway, the fellow that owned the house, this doctor who had something to do with putting aloe vera into creams and stuff, lovely fella. He used to get bladdered dinner time watching the golf all day and then come down the site on the scaffolding half cut. He was quite a funny guy. This guy and the architect and a few of them all turned up anyway. What gets brought up in the little site meeting when we're all sort of stood outside looking, they mentioned the chimney and it's dusty and it all needs knocking off and doing again. Guess who pipes up straight away? Your man Pat. And do you know what he said? I told him not to do it. I told him it was too hot and it'd go dusty. Now, at the time, I didn't say nothing because I'm like the youngest lad there. This is the sort of first big job that I've been on by myself. Because before then, I'd always done sort of site work and had a main contractor telling us what to do. And then I'd gone off doing a bit of private work. I'm just working for one-off customers. Whereas now I've got this massive sort of job to do, you know. And it's, you know, it's paying for my wedding. It paid for all my wedding, my honeymoon, a lot. Like, so it was, you know, it was a good job. So I didn't want to say anything and sort of spoil it at the time. I just kept my mouth shut. So he goes off back to the pub that night where we were staying, and he still can do this to me to this day. Sam, my brother-in-law, all he's done all night, he made you look like a muppet. He's mugged you off. He made you look stupid. You're like a little bitch for taking that. All night long, he wouldn't give me a rest. And we're having a few beers, you know, and he's just got inside my head. The next morning, I don't even think I want to sleep. I was just like lying in the bed with my eyes open because I'm ready to kill Pat. So the next day we went in and straight over to Pat. Didn't do anything out of turn. I just basically told him, you know, in a little bit more colourful language than this. You better get on the phone now and tell them what the score is. Because otherwise, if you don't, I'm going to take you on that field over there and I'm going to fill you in, mate. So get on that phone now and put them straight on who told me to do that chimney and what I actually said. And he said to me, he was in like a little mini digger and he stopped and he turned it off. And he looked at me like, you know, sort of like that. He went, you threatening me? And I'm like, I went, yeah. As soon as he knew that I wasn't backing down, he was like, ooh. So he got out his little digger and he went and made the phone call and set him straight and told him that it wasn't me. I was in the right and it was him that had told me to do it. So, but anyway, as it happens, literally like 2 weeks later, I mean, they just stopped. Him and his brother, they just didn't speak to us, which made it quite interesting. Like, they just did not speak. We could all go in the county, he just didn't speak to us. It was a bit awkward. I felt quite bad after that, you know, but Sam, he was like, ooh, that taught him a lesson. I think he thought he was quite good because he could control me a little bit. But yeah, I got married like 2 weeks after that, and I went on my honeymoon, and then before we could go back to the job, things had happened. Obviously, Pat had put his little 2p's worth in, and we were swapped out for different plasterers. But I didn't mind it. Everything, you know, all the money I earned off it paid for everything I needed to pay for. It just would have been nice to go back and do the job. But yeah, flipping heck, threw me right under the bus. He did, the little rascal. Well, there's other things, but anyway, I don't like talking about all this because I don't sort of like want to sort of portray myself as thinking I'm a big tough guy and stuff, because I'm not just a regular guy, you know. I don't think I'm anything special. Just these situations seem to find me. And you know what, as well, we're talking about this. Young Kieran asks me this, you know, he's a young lad trying to find his way in the world, and he's talking about, you know, oh, such and such, oh, he's solid, him, isn't he? He's dead tough, him. And someone else, oh yeah, he's a faggot, him. And here's my view on it, right? There ain't no such thing as the tough guy and the weak guy. You go into any town, right? You find the toughest fellow in that town, the guy with the biggest reputation, the hardest geezer in town, right? Get him. Then go and find the weakest, little scrawniest, little weasel fella, you know, who everyone could pick on, right? Put them together, yeah? If the big guy, the tough guy, hurts that little fella's kids, yeah, does something mean to his kids, you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? The little fella will kill him. Ain't no such thing as tough guys. It's what's in there and what you're fighting for. You know what I mean? No one. Everybody's the same. No one's a tough guy. It just depends what you're fighting for. You take the weakest little man, right? Hurt his children. He'll become the most dangerous person you've ever met in your life. It's as simple as that. Right, next question. We'll have to go fast because we're running out of time, aren't we? Cheddar, if you couldn't do plastering anymore, what would you do? Oh, you got me there, mate. I don't know. YouTube? No, don't do YouTube. It doesn't pay enough money. Well, not yet anyway. I've got a little stream of money starting. But you guys keep subscribing. Keep watching me videos. My little stream might start growing into a little river maybe, and I might be able to retire from plastering one day. I don't know, mate. I don't know. All I know is this. Whatever I do in life, anything I seem to want to do, I'm probably a little bit autistic, because I sort of like really laser focus on things. Like when I got into plastering, you know, when I was a kid, I started really focusing on plastering when I started full time with my dad when I was like 15, and I started buying books, and I really study everything. I don't like not knowing stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, so I'm not trying to crack on that I know everything about plastering. I don't. But I don't ever want to be sort of like caught off guard and the customer says, oh, can you do this? And I don't know what I'm talking about. So, but I found that pretty much any sort of little venture I tend to do. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a customer once, and I sort of like become friends with him. Lovely fella. And anyway, he was working at Morrison's. He was a manager in Morrison's. And they had him working for peanuts, and he was doing like flipping 18-hour shifts and all sorts. Wasn't seeing his missing kids. Jacked the job in, and he phoned me, and he said, Kirk, can I come plastering with you for a little bit, come labouring? And at the time, I was working with another plasterer, and we didn't need anybody else. So I asked him what he wanted to do. If it wasn't plastering, he couldn't think of anything. Where I live, this is what I did for him. It was summertime. I got a load of flyers printed off, and it was grass cutting, and we cut your lawn for £5, you know. And we're only going to work on this housing estate, so we wouldn't have to travel from job to job, wasting loads of time. And we put flyers everywhere for £5. Everyone was going for it because it was so cheap. So literally, I got my kids. I paid my kids to go and post all these flyers, and the deal was he wanted like £100 for the day. So I made it so that got my kids to post all these flyers, and we got that much work in where he would just go garden. There's no fences. He could just go straight into the next doors, go down 4 doors, go around the corner, do 3. That's, you know, because it's all like little cul-de-sacs where I live. So he was just going all over the place, and he was doing like £160 in a day, and I was going round of an evening collecting all the money in. And I had this little mobile phone, you know, just a little £10 phone from Mazda, and this is only, I don't know what, 7 or 8 years ago. And I'd go around and collect all the money, the £5, and give him his £100, and I'd keep the other bits, you know, like the £60 or the £30 or whatever it was. And I got sick of it because it was just like but anyway, I just give him the whole thing, and he's grown it. He does all sorts. He's doing landscape gardening now. He just grew the business himself, and he sort of like took off doing that. But the point of it was, I said you can make money doing anything if you just put a bit of effort in, a bit of forethought, you know. And yeah, so I mean, if it wasn't plastering, I would just do anything, mate. I think there's money to be made in anything you decide to do if you're doing it for yourself. If you work for somebody else, you can only earn what they're willing to pay you, can't you? So yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'm having a little bash at this YouTube now, aren't I? So we'll see how this goes. Jordan Hill, who's your other favourite plastering channel and why, mate? Right, I'll be honest with you, I don't really even watch all the other plastering channels. I mean, I do this every single day. I enjoy doing my own channel, but after plastering for like 20 odd years, day in, day out, the last thing I want to do is come home and watch more plastering. But when I was younger, when I was trying to absorb as much information as I possibly could, the only person that had a YouTube channel for plastering was Kirk G. O'Donnell. I mean, and he's got a great name as well, hasn't he? So I used to watch his channel for, I don't know, a year. And I've only really started watching other plastering channels since I've had my channel, just so I can go in and steal their ideas. I'm only messing. I'm joking. But no, I just wanted to sort of get a bit of inspiration from other plastering channels. And there's some great guys out there. I mean, I don't sit down and watch their channels because it's just, like I say, it's like watching paint dry for me. But, you know, Alex Morley, Joel Cook. I like Joel. Joel's got a great personality. I don't really watch the plastering. I just sort of like watch who I like, you know. I've sort of like I like listening to him because he's a proper geezer. Joel Cook, Rendervate he's called. There's loads. Flipping, my mind's gone blank now. I like watching Stuart. What flipping was his channel called? Trowel Talk. There's Eric. There's loads of guys, to be fair, and I enjoy watching all of them. You know, they've all got their own quirky little personalities, which I find quite interesting. Blaine from Plastering for Beginners. I've spoke to all these guys, actually. You know, I've reached out to a few of them. They've reached out to me. I did a little podcast with a couple of guys as well, which was quite good. But yeah, as far as watching plastering, I tell you one channel that I do like, actually, and I do watch, is Max Kill. Maxkil, and he's down under in Australia. I like watching his stuff because it's different. It's not what I do, so I like watching what the Aussies are doing. You know, a lot of it's tape and jointing, so that's quite interesting to watch. Just because it's just different from what, you know, I usually watch. From, you know what I'm trying to say, from what I usually see day in, day out. Mac Plastering. I like watching Mac Plastering just because I like his accent. He's an Irish lad, and he's anyway, I'm talking crap. Right, this is going to be the last question. Ryan 89. How do you start a plastering business? How much money to start with? How to drum up work if you're fairly new to plastering? Right, I can only tell you my experience. I've never sort of been like a big contractor on site. I've only ever been like a sub, you know, working for contractors on building sites. So I can only really tell you how to do it the domestic way. And it's quite interesting that you've asked that, actually, because when you're starting out on your own, you don't know which way to go and what to do to get work. But when you sort of get to like my experience in it, it's quite clear looking back, you know, what works and what doesn't work. So I think it's a very good question, that, mate. Now, I'm already established where I am, so if I was, excuse me, if I was to take me from where I am located and drop me, say, I don't know, flipping Leeds or somewhere completely different, and I had to start all over again with no contacts, with nothing, you know, starting from fresh, this is what I'd do. Money, right. As long as you get your tools, then you don't need any money to start a business. Maybe just to, you know, to buy a little bit of material to get you going. This is what I'd do. First of all, I would have my Facebook sort of optimized, ready to go. Join all the local groups, all the buy and sell groups, all the local community groups in that area. I'd start reaching out, friend requesting people, you know, start getting myself sort of little bit of a network of people built up. Anybody, women, old women are your key, because they're the ones that are on Facebook all day recommending you, right? So start sort of like interacting on Facebook with people and befriending everyone. Get all the crap off Facebook, all your nonsense, you know, your stuff that people use your Facebook as like an little advertising board. Listen, think about this. It's like a little advertising board for you. So anybody, how many people have you checked out on Facebook? I mean, you may have even searched for me on Facebook. People will go and find you out. The minute you know your name, they'll put your name into Facebook and they'll check it out. So make sure that when they check it out, you look, you know, a decent guy. Don't have no crazy stuff on there. And start, you know, making friends on the internet in the local area. That'll be number one. Number two, I would then also go and, this is how I did it originally, so I can only tell you what worked for me in the past. I go and get a load of flyers printed off, get them worded quite well. You know, if you're not good at copywriting, get someone to copyright it for you. I did my own, nice and simple. It was like literally 2 or 3 sentences. When I come off the building site in the recession, I did this, and it got me work instantly. I would do that. Now there's an extra little thing that you can do now. Well, I never do this because I'm permanently busy, but I did in the lockdown. This was a little gold mine of work in the lockdown. All my jobs got cancelled when coronavirus come out. But what I found was there's a site, My Builder. I went on there, you register, you have to answer a few questions to prove that you're a plasterer. I mean, I reckon my missus could have answered them, so it's quite easy to sort of get into. But then you sort of, it's not a monthly subscription, My Builder, you just pay for the leads that you get. So you pay for the lead, and then 3 people can go after the job, so you can hand pick which jobs you want to do. Now this is the exact blueprint that I would follow now. This is what I would do, right? I would go on My Builder, I would send your thing out, set your profile up, make it really polish it, you know, make it look mint, and put a nice big spiel about yourself, you know, how good you are and everything else. I would get a My Builder job, I would go and do the job. When I'm there doing the job, after the finished, I'll post my flyers in that area, because you're already there, so put your flyers out. I'll take pictures of the job and put them on my Facebook profile. I would also have a Google business listing, and because they're free, you just list your business on Google, yeah. And I would ask that customer I've just done the job for to leave me a review. So that way, you're getting your reviews built up on Google. So when someone Googles plasterers near me, you pop up and you've got reviews. And the more reviews you get, the higher list you go, the more active your profile is, getting interactions all the time, the higher up the ranking you'll go. You'll have your Facebook profile, you're going to be on Facebook, and you're going to be interacting in the groups, you know, going in, giving advice, people asking for plasterers, and, you know, as long as you're uploading pictures that you do plastering and you're a nice guy, people are going to see that and they'll potentially recommend you when someone wants a plasterer. And yeah, and I'll spread flyers around. I mean, I can go more. I'll probably do a video on this, actually. I'll probably do a full video on this for you, and I explain everything in detail. But I know if I was sort of dropped in a new place now, give me 2 days and I'd have my diary full for a couple of weeks. I know I could do it, you know, because I know exactly how I'm going to target it. So I'll probably do a full video, like I say. But that's, you've got a few little ideas there to work with. Let's just see if there's any more questions. The last one we'll do now, Albert Payne. Kirk, why do you use board finish rather than multi-finish on all sorts of backgrounds? You can use multi-finish and board finish on exactly the same backgrounds. There's no difference. The only thing is board finish sets faster and polishes up a bit quicker. That's it. That's the only reason. I know it says board finish and you think it's only for plaster boards, but if you actually read the back of the bag, you can use it for anything. And before they even put it on the back of the bag, I used it for everything just because it sets faster. I don't think British Gypsum changed the writing on the back of the bag because they knew what I was doing. Oh, Kirk's making it happen, so we'll change this round and sell it to everyone. Imagine that. No, board finish just goes off quicker, mate. That's the only reason. I used to use it on site day in, day out, so when we used to pinch a few bags, sorry Dave Waring, sorry mate, we used to pinch the bag off you and go and do a foreign on the way home. We used to use board finish, so you just get used to the same stuff, don't you? But I'll use anything. I'll use multi-finish if that's all there is. I mean, flipping heck, in the lockdown, we were using Carlight finish, which hasn't been around in my part of the world since the flipping 80s, I think. I've used that canal finish. There's all sorts of, yeah, board finishes me go to, just because it goes off quick. Right, that's it. I think I've answered all the questions from today. Guys, if you enjoyed that, you know the score. If you appreciate the effort that goes into making these videos for you, there's a link in the description. You can buy me a pint. But apart from that, hope you have a lovely weekend. Ciao. Oh, another thing as well, it's the 12th today. On the 14th of March 2023, the trowel that I've been wearing for the month is going to someone. So if you haven't got your name down the list and you want it, then check in the description. This is going to be pretty much your last chance, because I'm going to have to shut that off the morning of the 14th, because I need to get all the names printed off and all cut out, ready to go in the hat. So you've basically got like the 13th to do that. A little surprise for you, because I know only a couple of people are going to see this, so you've got a little bit of early access. Because the trial sort of thing went so well, and people keep asking me in the comments, you know, oh, they'd love to come and do a job with me, or for me to come and work alongside them and stuff. I've decided that I'm also going to do a thing where you can sort of like pay a little thing to get your name on the list, a tenner, put your name on the list, and if your name's drawn out the hat, and it's going to be the 4th of April, a name's going to be getting drawn, I'll come to you for the day. I'm going to come and do a job with you. I'll come and help you on a job, work alongside you. If you're a bit of a beginner and you want tuition, then I'll come and teach you as much as I can in a day. Or maybe you just want some plastering doing, and I mean, you could be a fantastic plasterer and teach me a few things and just have me as a labourer. I'll be your cheapest labourer you've ever had for a tenner. or we might even, if you haven't got no jobs that need doing, but you still want to come and, you know, jump in with me on one of my jobs, we can sort something out. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be 10 quid, and you get me for a day. I mean, my missus said, no one's going to want to spend the day with you. But let's prove them wrong, eh? Let's prove her wrong. Someone's got to love me, haven't they? So there's a link for that in the description. If you want to spend the day with me plastering, you can have me work with you, or you can come and work with me. Whatever you want to do, we'll figure it out anyway. But you get me for the full day. There's a link for that in the description. It's 10 quid now, because it's like early access. But I think to cover the fuel, and if I need a hotel and all that, it might have to go up a little bit in price. We'll just see how many people go for it. I don't know. Hopefully I won't lose any money on this. Happy flipping, if only 3 people go for it and get 30 quid and I've got to travel to Scotland or something. I'll be gutted. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I wanted to tell you. The trowel, if you want the trowel, the link's for that in the description. If you want me for the day, the link for that is in the description. And if you want to buy me a pint, because, look, you know I love me beer, there's a link for that as well. So, right, I am going. Ciao. I love you. Adios. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the comments and the lovely things you say. I love reading all your comments. Thank you. Good night. God bless.